Aloha, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation. And my guest today is Dahryn Trivedi. She is an enlightened and miraculous being gifted with the ability to transform living organisms at the cellular level and non-living materials at the atomic level. Her mission is to elevate human potential, restore vitality, and ignite a new era of global transformation, providing that the power of consciousness can impact every dimension of life, from the food we eat to the very materials that build our world. I chose this specific part in the end. I love that mission. That's just beautiful that we can transform. I mean, consciousness, we know everything's saturated in consciousness, right? We are not
Right,
when there's nothing that apart from the from consciousness. Everything indeed is
right.
consciousness. So, but not everyone's aware of that, which kind of
Yeah.
it surprised me a lot of times. But this is the brief introduction to Dahryn. The full bio will be at the end. The question that I love asking Dahryn from the get go, and I always begin with this question for some reason, never left me. How would you
Mm.
introduce yourself? Like here in this moment, who are you in this very moment?
Yeah. Well, I am happy.
Mm,
I am a global speaker. I am a spiritual leader, and I am an enlightened master from a nonprofit organization called Divine Connection International.
wow.
And we have a very broad, big mission, as you just, kind of touched upon a little bit there, is that we are creating the credibility of exactly what you said, the nature of consciousness being, the foundation of all of its existence. But even more than that, we are actually applying, right? We're taking it and using the practical application of consciousness in
Mm,
our day-to-day lives, what it means for our health and well-being, even the implications in terms of, agriculture, in terms of material science, health, medicine, innovation, technology. This is something that when we're able to utilize it and we're able to raise consciousness, it has vast and diverse multidimensional impact that crosses into every dimension of life that there is. So we are the actual empirical foundation for that and the application of it, which I feel is the first time that has ever been done to this extent.
wow. Yes, I was so curious, and I'm looking at the
Yeah.
websites too, everything. Yeah, so talk to me, perhaps in simple terms, how some
Mhm.
for people who are not really like myself right now, who are not really. I don't know exactly how it's done, so I would love to know how is it. I know we talked off record about the blessings, and I also read on your website. But talk to me about how this is that a process? Is this something that could happen in a moment in time?
So while it's done through divine blessings, I wouldn't really call it a process. It's not
Mm,
really like a method or a technique
right.
as to what most people are familiar with. This is something that,
Yeah.
right, divine blessings is how we raise consciousness. And what we see is when consciousness raises,
Yeah.
right, we see the impact of that
Mm,
in everything because that is the fundamental reality. Like Max Planck, he's the father of quantum physics.
mm,
And it's never really been more than theoretical, right, that
yeah.
consciousness is the fundamental source of all reality and everything else is derived from that.
Mm, mm, yeah.
So what we're doing is we're taking that, putting it into a laboratory. And when you see that through these divine blessings, as you raise consciousness, you see how that affects humans. You see better quality of life. You see more harmony in relationships. You see better success, more vitality, and, greater prosperity and abundance. They reach new profound levels of well-being and potential never perceived before or even conceived of,
Wow.
right? And then when you get to agriculture, you see, greater crop yields, you see greater vitality in the crops, more resistance to pests and bacteria and viruses. You see increased immunity, increased nutrition. And then in material science, you see things happen at the atomic level
Wow.
where we see things happen like the characteristics and behaviors of materials actually change when you change things at the atomic level.
Mm,
So the material, there are things called physical constants that actually change, right? But science is not able to change them. It's something that's considered impossible. That's why they're called physical constants, unless either to use some kind of external energy or force or mechanism upon it. We're not doing anything but introducing divine blessings, and we see these behaviors and characteristics of
Mm,
materials change, showing that things are changing at an atomic level.
yes.
So this is what we're doing, is we're raising consciousness through the application of divine blessings, and everything else changes effortlessly as a result of that. So instead of treating things at the surface level, we're treating things at the source level, which is consciousness.
Yes. Wow. So, um, so I, well, my translation, my interpretation of that would be that you have become one with the fundamental reality, which is the absolute reality consciousness. Is that what it is, Dahryn, if I understand it correctly? Because it's the only way, it's almost like it's not really raising consciousness, but realizing that it's everything. In a way, is that some the realization of that? Because I have been um well, I have heard of some spiritual teachers that just by being in their presence, something changes in you. It's almost like that exactly what you explained. Something starts to change, but that's because is that a transmission? So if that's what it is, if I'm interpreting correctly, that's what it is. You're in touch with the fundamental reality all the time because some of us cannot be in contact with that all the time. We have the conditioned mind
Mhm.
and body too. But is that what it is? And is that a transmission of that? Is transmission the right word and concept when it comes to what you
Yeah,
do?
I
The
mean,
divine blessings. I like that. Divine blessings. I like the
yeah.
word. Oh, yeah.
Well, we call it divine blessings because we really feel it's coming from a divine source. The way that these divine blessings work is essentially that when consciousness is raised, right? And I would call it more like a raising of consciousness or like an evolution of
Yeah.
consciousness,
Huh.
right? So essentially what that is all of the problems that you see today is all coming from one thing, and that's when consciousness becomes disorganized or disordered, right? So evolution means that
Mm.
consciousness
Huh.
retains its original natural blueprint.
Mm.
It returns back to a divine order, a
Yeah.
natural blueprint that all of us are born
Yeah.
with. So yes, you're touching upon that truth that all of us are a part of that. But at the
Mm.
same time, there's a phenomena that happens, right? Which you can, consider illusion or whatever you want. But essentially, we're very scientific,
Mm.
so we don't go too much into philosophy and theory, but you could call it a disorganized state of being where consciousness becomes disorganized, whether it's through past traumas or past experiences, or because
Right.
oftentimes there's no like real
Mm.
foundation for the existence of consciousness, no comprehensive place we can go to and learn about this. It's not like
Yeah.
an accepted worldview. It's a very niche thing that some of us are part of and resonate with, and a lot of people aren't. And science has disregarded for so long because
I know.
science is built on materialism.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so, and because consciousness has been difficult to, take in a laboratory, pin down,
You
measure
can.
empirically and objectively,
Yeah.
well, the thing is we
Can you?
can.
Wow.
We can.
Really?
That's what we do. That
That's
is our specialty. So
amazing.
that's why I'm here sharing this with you, is because yes, you
Wow.
actually can pin it down and measure it.
Wow.
And it's never
Wow.
been done before, but we're the
Right.
first to do it. And that's where we have 6,000 science studies demonstrating it.
Oh,
And every single one of them shows the effects of consciousness and its application. So, but
wow.
what happens is you could call that these divine blessings, they return you back to that natural blueprint. They reorganize consciousness. We could say evolve, or maybe it's the involution of consciousness, but essentially they return you back to your natural blueprint of that pure, you know,
Mm,
state of consciousness, that
yeah.
pure reality that is the source of well-being,
Mm,
of love, of joy in your life.
yeah.
So,
Oh God. Gosh, Dahryn, you made me very curious right now. So
yeah.
how can consciousness be measured? Isn't it all pervasive and it's something that is not a physical thing? It's not something that can be seen, touched, because it's through consciousness that everything become it's possible to be aware of anything. So consciousness is the background of all of it. I mean, from my humble understanding. So
Right.
so talk to me about that. I would love to know more if you can share here. How can consciousness become a scientific, an object of study? Because it's not an object.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's not an object, but we it's such a part, like a fundamental part of our reality that it would be ignorant to say it doesn't have an effect on our reality,
Oh.
right? And so but the issue is nobody's been able to develop a correlation between what happens when consciousness changes
Yeah.
and how that reflects in terms of the physical nature of things,
Right.
because that's a real association between the two. Is when you change consciousness, there are emanations of that into your physical life,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And nobody's been able to properly alter things at the level of consciousness because most methodologies out there are just that, their methods, their tricks, their techniques. And what we've done, we do things that, go beyond psychology and belief and tricks and techniques. We've shown that it's the actually adverse, right? Or the reverse, because people are trying to use tricks and techniques to affect consciousness, and we see it's the opposite, that when you change things at the consciousness level, then everything else changes
Mm,
as a result of that.
yeah.
Which is what I was saying. When you see consciousness raises in a human being, you see better quality of life. And we're talking about better quality of life. How can we measure that in a laboratory? Well, we can measure neurotransmitters, we can measure hormones,
Mm,
we can measure even nutrient absorption, our ability to absorb nutrients.
right.
We can measure, even DNA and genetics. We can measure all of those things. We can use blood samples. We can do all of that, right, in terms of, quality of life, and measure the huge impact of that, which is what we've done with 4 of our clinical trials,
Mm,
with unprecedented outcomes, things that even conventional methods cannot replicate.
mm,
And then you see agriculture, like the effects of that. When you raise things in agriculture, we have, for example, our studies have shown 500% increase in yield, right? 600% increase in immunity. We've done experiments in agriculture where, if they've tried to see, can we replace weedicide with divine blessings?
yeah.
And we found, yes, that by comparison, we've been able to remove all the use of any toxic chemicals like weedicide, pesticide, fungicide, and chemical fertilizers, even organic ones,
Wow.
and just use these divine blessings as a replacement.
Mm,
And they're far more effective as well.
mm,
We see a shelf life increase by 100%. We see, so what happens, we see the effects. We see that when you change consciousness,
mm,
everything else changes, and it's
mm,
empirical and measurable. That's how you can connect the two and associate that this is happening at the level of consciousness.
yeah.
And when you're seeing that if you can affect things at a cellular level,
Yeah.
at an atomic level, those are like the basic building blocks of life itself.
Mm, mm,
So the only way you can alter things is when you have a power that is very precise, very intelligent,
mm.
right? That can
Oh, yeah.
approach all these different approaches, right?
Oh, yeah.
Merge into all these different disciplines of science,
Yeah.
right? This divine blessing, just one divine blessing can have an impact on agriculture, material science, life sciences, bacteria, viruses, microbes, plants, trees, seeds,
Oh, yeah.
metals, ceramics, polymers, chemicals, human life, animal life, right? It doesn't, it can differentiate between all of them,
Mm,
and it can address things at the very smallest building block of all of existence, which shows it is the source of that.
mm,
It is the programmer of that.
mm.
So, what else could that be but consciousness?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That
Right.
makes a lot of sense, right? Measuring,
Yes.
yeah, measuring the results of the divine blessings, because I have had a lot of experience with spiritual teachers, also energy healing, all kinds of things I've tried, and I noticed that really, I had this very, I never had any serious illnesses or anything like that, but I had something that was becoming chronic, like in my body, a pain, and that
Yeah.
went away too because of yeah. I mean, it was just a session. I think I did 2 or 3 sessions with different people. And one of them was really
Mhm.
clear, the instructions. But I was basically,
Right.
that was basically my own consciousness, or consciousness being in touch with the source that kind of next day I had no pain at all of the sudden was number from 10 it went to 2 and then 0. So that was like, oh, that's a
Right.
miracle, I thought. But it's not really a miracle, is it, Dahryn? It's really, it makes sense. That's the science of spirituality, right? That's a
Mhm.
real thing. That to me, that's the only thing that's real anyway, consciousness. So but
Right.
wow, I love that. I mean, I love that you're seeing the you have scientific studies to show the impact, the effects of of consciousness in the material, in the physical world. And that has been, I mean, this has been done for so long, to the even to the teachings of Jesus. A lot of people have I talked to a lot of people and I interviewed them. Some people have healed, wow, completely, 100% too, because of their belief in Jesus, or because the call upon that Christ consciousness. I mean, I was
Mhm.
really, I mean, I have heard a lot of things that they are really real. They happened. So I love that. What can I say? Divine blessings, and then you get it. Does it take one? Is that again one time? It's not. You said it's not a process. Really, it's not a method. So
Well,
how is it
it is a
done?
journey, though. It's not as simple as one and done. I
Yeah.
mean, some people report incredible results with just one blessing.
Right.
Right, right. Some people, especially certain areas of life, because it's multifaceted. It covers, every aspect of life. So some people, find incredible improvements with just one blessing in like
Mm,
their sleep, for example.
mm,
Like they feel that they have, incredible refreshing sleep after just one blessing.
yeah.
And then, they feel like their skin quality changes, people feel like a huge relief from chronic pain and
Mm,
things like that.
yeah.
And other people, it really depends on the level of damage, right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
the current state of that
Yeah.
person, obviously, it's more of a journey, right? If you're thinking of it as a scale, right, where you have like zero as neutral point, right? And then you have
Yes.
the negative side of the scale and the positive side. Depending on where you land on the scale, you have to take that journey back to positive to actually, really enjoy
Mm,
all of the benefits this has to offer. So it is a journey, but you gain momentum. And I mean, from what I see too, is I'll
yeah.
just give you an example. I'll share some of the
Yeah. Mm,
testimonials we have from some people to
yeah.
show you how incredible these results are. Because these people, we've had over 300,000 people receive these blessings,
Wow. Yeah.
right? And I believe every single one of our testimonials is incredible,
Mm,
touting vast miracles. And these people have tried everything. These people are exhausted, they are tired, they are frustrated, they are spiritual people as well as atheists, so it has nothing to do with belief.
right. Right.
This is not belief oriented, it is not faith
Yeah.
based, this is not faith healing, because I mean, faith doesn't affect plants and trees, nor does it affect materials, right?
Yes.
So this has nothing to do with faith.
Right.
So this is not something, psychological or coming from the level of the mind.
Mm,
This is beyond the mind.
mm,
You're not affecting change through your mind.
mm,
And so these people have come and they've tried everything. They've tried many different, even complementary and alternative practices. They've tried conventional methods of treatment. They've tried energy healing. They've tried Reiki. They've tried, just an infinite number of things.
yeah.
Any modality you can think of, we've had these people try, and they experience some benefits. That's true. But what I really like to emphasize is what makes what we're doing different than what these other modalities are able to do. And I don't want to discredit or say that these other modalities don't have a purpose and a place, because I feel like they are doing great things for people. But at the same time, the outcome, that's where we differ from these other
Yeah.
modalities, is
Yeah.
the outcome we're able to deliver.
Yeah.
And this is reflected in the incredible, unprecedented results of our scientific research. We have a woman, for example, where she's from Washington, and she lived her life. She tried everything. She's very hippie in her approach to life, as well as conventional methods of treatment. She had huge insomnia, depression, anxiety, fear of the future. She came from a background of severe emotional trauma. Even being molested as a child,
Yeah.
right? Severe religious, I guess you could say religious trauma,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
From the church she was raised and grew up with. And then on top of that, she also experienced, the huge amount of poor quality health with her digestion. She had issues with her, like I said, her quality of sleep. She had severe hot flashes.
Uh,
And she tried everything and she had very minimal amount of outcome, which is a huge relief. Here's the thing, even a small amount of outcome, if there's nothing else available to you, you feel like it's a massive and huge
that's
relief.
true.
And it is for these people. You feel a huge relief.
Yeah.
But when she came across these divine blessings and they made all of her problems completely disappear in her life,
Mm.
we're talking about emotional trauma where people say, even alternative and complementary therapies say it takes time to
Right.
be able to, go beyond emotional trauma.
Yeah.
She found that these divine blessings completely eradicated it almost immediately. She said
Wow.
she never thought she could have peace and calmness in her life.
Mm. Yeah.
It removed her trauma entirely. She sleeps well. It improved her digestion. Her hot flashes went away, right? And then on top of that, there was a really severe traumatic injury she faced where she fell and actually, had a spinal cord injury in her neck.
Wow.
And she was airlifted to the hospital. And every single doctor and nurse and specialist that she encountered said that she would live on a motorized wheelchair for the rest of her life. She would have absolutely no function and movement of her body or her bodily organs. She would live on a respirator. She'd have no digestive function,
Yeah. Mm.
basically living on machines and tied to a wheelchair forever.
Wow.
They gave her zero chance of being able to walk again. Everybody.
Mm.
Nobody could see any good thing about what happened. And she reached out to my husband at the time, and he's still my husband, but at that time she reached out to him.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is within less than a year, she started walking
Uh,
through these divine blessings. She
yeah.
started walking.
Yeah.
She has full function of all of her bodily organs, right? She has full digestive function. She has the ability to breathe on her own. And in fact, she's become so independent in her life that she's actually a caretaker for other members of her
Mm.
family.
Mm.
Nobody needs to take care of her. She can take care of herself.
Yeah.
She, comes to, any in-person event she have and she volunteers and helps.
Amazing.
We have another story of somebody who, was literally tied to the bed for 20 hours a day. They were living so exhausted, nothing was helping them. They got sick all the time. They had no energy. They got into a severe depression. They felt like they had no future. They felt like they were 100 years old.
Amazing.
An incredible amount of pain and suffering, also financial troubles, and they had no relationship and they, deeply wanted a relationship. They had no one in their life. After these divine blessings, this person, I believe, only just had a couple of divine blessings and all of their energy came back right away, right? All of their energy came back. Their depression disappeared and they actually found a partner in their life, a very loving, beautiful, harmonious relationship,
Yeah.
and their finances started improving greatly. So people who come to us usually come to us because they've tried everything else and nothing else has worked.
Right.
I like to say where everything else stops working or has limits, this what we're doing actually starts working.
Mm.
That's where we start. That's where our journey really begins. People come to us at that point in their life where they've tried everything. People suffer from chronic and debilitating illnesses that have no cure, by any methodology or modality out there.
Right.
And we've seen people who report to us that they have either been, either these problems have become so manageable that it's almost like they don't live with them,
Right.
or it's
Mm.
almost actually made them disappear. And I don't want to make any claims. This is just what other people are saying. But
Yeah.
the results of our clinical trials really reflect the extraordinary outcomes we're facing because we believe strongly that
Mm.
if people are reporting this, right, why is it only limited to people? Why is everybody who's out there focused on healing or, faith or religion or spirituality, why is it limited to humans?
Mm.
Why can't it affect plants and trees? Why can't it affect materials?
Yeah.
Right? You take your spiritual experience, you put it in a laboratory, and a lot of people, they don't see an outcome on a material science level,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not as powerful in that setting as it is on, the human nature.
Mm.
And so we've been able to see huge improvements in all those areas, but our clinical trials is perhaps some of our most extraordinary results that completely eliminate any possibility of placebo or psychological influence and really reflect everything we're seeing in these incredible testimonials people have.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. It sounds wonderful to me. I'm like, I need to try
It
it.
is.
I want to try some of these blessings and see what happens. um, I
I'm
love.
happy if you want to. I'd love to offer them to you.
Oh, I would love to, Darren, because there are
Yeah.
some areas in my life that's you need some alignment. It goes back to that alignment again, that I'm trying to align them. And it feels like I'm making an effort. And then, I like being more natural when it comes to these things, especially spiritual. So yeah, I would love to try
We'll
it.
talk after this. I actually, forgot to mention at the beginning that we have a special offer
Yeah,
for everybody, who's part of this
yeah.
podcast, who's listening, that we actually have an incredible offer where we're giving these divine blessings. So people, who maybe are still questioning or still have
Mm,
doubts, it's like, just like try it yourself, really
yeah,
try it.
yeah.
I mean, we're offering it at a huge discount just for your audience. It's, divineconnection.org/ the freedom to feel. And you can sign up for these blessings, try them out yourself. So that's an offer that we have for everybody who's listening and watching. But I also love to talk to you
Oh,
after this podcast, and
yes.
we can arrange something for you as well.
I would love that.
So,
So
so you
thank
can try it out.
I I can't wait. Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please
that's
do.
yeah. I'm almost like a mystic, but I have had enough experience to know that it's true. That
Yeah.
I have done a lot of tons of different kind of healing modalities. It took a while, but it
Yeah.
worked. But
Yes.
this, what do you speak of? I love the name too. Something's resonating energetically with the true divine blessings. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really resonating. I don't know exactly why. So how is it done? Like it's in person, remotely? I would love for you to kind of describe the process of how it's done, the session are the blessings are done.
Yeah. So, I mean, we usually offer them through our memberships, and all of them are remote. I mean, once in a while, if somebody's in town, they want to visit us and receive one
Yeah.
in person. We occasionally do in person, but honestly, most of our memberships are done remotely. And people really, they don't need to change any aspect of their life. They don't need to adopt any practice. They don't need to like say a mantra or meditate or do
Mm,
yoga or anything like that.
yeah.
They literally just receive the blessings and get the outcome from that. And sometimes that's really hard for people to comprehend, that you don't really need to do anything.
Yeah.
We're so nurtured and kind of programmed, I guess, as a society, like based upon our nurturing, to
Yeah.
believe that, any
Fully.
outcome requires a huge amount of effort
Mm,
and we can't
mm,
simply just receive something.
yeah.
And here's the thing, God
Um,
gave us life, right? Why can't God just give us vitality? Why can't God just give us, peace and happiness? Why is it effort
mm,
from our side? What I mean, God's the one that does everything for us. It's not
uh,
us doing it. God is the one that, makes our heart beat, makes us breathe. God is the one that heals us. When you fall down and scrape your knee, who's healing your knee?
mm,
Right? Your body knows what to do. It has an inherent
right.
intelligence, and that's consciousness.
Right.
So this
Mm,
is the same thing as what's happening with these blessings,
yeah.
is that, we're helping establish this is what the blessings do, is that it's coming from an enlightened being, which essentially means their consciousness has, raised or evolved to the point in which now they are, at that, divine level. They have that communion with divine. It's
Yeah.
beyond the consciousness of nature. So that means it can have an effect on nature, right? So it can bypass the laws. That's where we
Mm,
see, in these experiments, we've seen it actually defy the laws of physics. It does things that science and humanity says are impossible,
mm,
things that can't change.
mm,
We've been able to change because this is coming from a divine level. This is coming from a level of pure consciousness, that source of life, the creator, right? God, whatever you want to refer to it as, that's where it's coming from.
right.
So, what we're doing is
Wow.
through enlightened consciousness, that person, through a prayer or their intention, to connect you to that source yourself. And you get everything from that connection. That's where you get the benefits from. It's not through me, it's not through my husband.
Mm,
You get that
mm,
through your own connection to the divine. And as a result,
mm,
you reap the benefits. So God knows what you need in your life. I
mm,
don't even need to know. That's what happened. If I can share some of the
mm,
clinical trial with you, is that right? This
right.
is a reflection that, everything can be done remotely as well, because I was located in Florida and all of the participants were located all the way in India. Right. So on
Wow.
the other side of the world. And this is
Right.
a placebo-controlled, double-blinded, randomized clinical trial, meaning I had no idea who I was blessing. I had no idea what group I was blessing. I knew nothing, right? The investigators didn't know which group was receiving the blessing. And even the participants didn't know if they were getting the blessing or not, right? So we're excluding psychology.
Mm.
And at the same time, we also have a sham healer or placebo group where we have a group of people who thinks they're getting a divine blessing but aren't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone's
Yeah.
pretending, faking it. And so we had a placebo control group, right? A sham healer group where people thought they were receiving a blessing, from a fake healer.
Yeah.
And then we had a control group for people who didn't receive anything at all. And so, that's in order to eliminate psychology, the effects of psychology, because that's a real thing that can actually have an effect,
Oh yeah.
on the effects of the clinical trial.
Yeah.
So we want to compare that with the actual treated group to see what's psychology and what's not.
Right. Right.
Okay, and
Right.
so this is all done remotely, and even the investigators don't know who's in what group. Everybody has a random number, and they don't know what day which group is coming in, right? Which people are getting measured, and we're measuring over 100 parameters in blood, so it's not just psychological questionnaires we're
Mm-hmm.
doing. And we're measuring parameters that are notoriously hard to have an effect upon, even by conventional standards. So these are things that do not have an effect when psychology is introduced. For example, like the clotho protein. Right, the clotho protein measures anti-aging, your vitality. If you can extend the amount of clotho you have, it's actually a sign that you have, more longevity, more vitality, right, in your life. It's a sign of youth
Yes.
to have more clotho. And there's nothing that really has a great effect on the clotho protein. The best thing that science and medicine has been able to do is give us marginal increments in the clotho protein. And the results of our clinical trial has shown nearly 700% improvement in the clotho protein.
Wow.
That's unheard of. Nothing has been able to do that, right? We see like oxytocin, for example, increase
Mm.
by over like 400%.
Mm.
And that's
Wow.
unheard of, even without just directly administering oxytocin intravenously. You don't even see that number.
Yeah.
And we didn't do anything. We didn't administer oxytocin to these participants of the clinical trial.
Right.
And
Right.
then we see
Uh,
huge improvements in nutrient absorption, right? And their ability to absorb nutrients. We see dopamine levels increase, serotonin. We see things like insulin resistance, right? We see insulin levels improve. We see inflammation biomarkers decrease by 95%. Even severe biologic therapies that are focused on
mm.
that are usually a last resort for people who have like an autoimmune disease or a very aggressive form of cancer. That's when people use biologic therapies,
Yeah.
and those biologic therapies have severe adverse reactions, right? They have huge
Oh, God,
risks
yeah.
without even this level of outcome in their life, without even this level of benefits, and without the risk, without any harm, without adverse effects, we've been able to reduce inflammation by 95%.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And that is so significant too, because Harvard actually has a
Uh,
theory that inflammation is the underlying source and cause of all disease that we see today.
mhm. Oh,
If you can reduce chronic inflammation,
yeah.
right, that might be, the potential to improve all of quality of life just by reducing inflammation.
Yeah.
We might be able to remove or eradicate all of the chronic diseases we see today.
So true.
And
Yeah.
so, and one of the most significant things we've done is the NIH toolbox for cognitive and motor function. So this is something that is used as a gold standard by clinical trials in order to make sure there's no subjective influence, no subjective data. It's stored in a server located in the United States by the National Institutes of Health, right? And it's completely randomized, so the investigators and the participants don't know what question will be asked, the order of the questions.
Mm.
The questions themselves change all the time,
Yeah.
so it's not possible to even predict what the question will be.
Yeah.
And then it's locked and stored the moment you submit the answer.
Right.
And so you can't go back and manipulate the data as well. And most of the time, these tests, right, this NIH toolbox for cognitive and motor function has been used in clinical trials to see if a therapy or a drug or a treatment or modality has any adverse effects on cognition and motor function.
Right.
Because we've never seen the opposite. We've never seen it able to actually benefit. We've never seen improvements in cognitive and motor function, only measuring adverse effects.
Yeah.
If it doesn't affect it at all, we consider that a good drug, a good therapy.
Right. Right.
We are the first. Our clinical trials are the first clinical trials to show improvements by nearly 100% in every tested parameter of the NIH toolbox for cognitive and motor function.
Amazing.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's truly, people, they're not doing anything in their life. It's not anything that they have to change. It's not even belief oriented or
Yeah.
faith based. This is, objective empirical data
Yeah.
that shows you just how incredible the work we're doing is. And I truly feel that our mission is so big that we really, I feel like it's imperative that we create this foundation, this
Mm.
scientific foundation for the existence of consciousness, because it can change our food industry. It can change our
Oh my God.
science and technology.
Yeah.
It can create innovative solutions for all the problems we see in our modern systems, all the times in which our modern systems are failing us. We see that our application of divine blessings have solutions. They have answers. They have innovative solutions that far surpass all the conventional methods we're using.
Gosh, yeah, I love it all. Is there like some sort of spiritual studies kind of institutes in the United States that can measure these results? I'm wondering if they, because I remember they did it with the Dalai Lama with meditation. I don't know if you remember that, but they kind of measured the effects of meditation in
Mhm.
with the monks, and the results were amazing. I mean, we were able to stay in this very cold room. I don't know if you remember that. It was kind of published long ago and gained a lot of recognition about the power of meditation. But it has not. I don't know. I never heard about consciousness trials in the United States. Have are you planning to do it here too? Perhaps in California or
Yeah, we've
that would be
done these all over the world. We've done trials, scientific experiments in the United States
oh,
already. We've done them in Germany, Australia, we've done them in India as well. We've conducted these
oh
globally. This
everywhere.
is not just in India.
Mm.
We've done agricultural experiments in the United States. We've done even preclinical research. There is a
Oh,
scientific experiments we did with the Pacific Medical Research Institute, right, with Dr. Garrett Yunt. And he did a particular trial, a particular experiment, not a trial, where we actually tested the effect of these divine blessings on, a petri dish. Petri dish is full of cancer cells and non-cancerous
mm,
cells, right?
I didn't know.
And you can do anything you want. You can, he's we've done experiments. A lot of scientists have done experiments with many different things, and nobody can really match the efficacy of what we've been able to do. And the significance of this trial, Dr. Garrett Yunt describes this as a holy grail.
Mm,
He says what this has been able to do with cancer cells and non-cancerous cells is what cancer researchers are looking for,
right.
right? Because so many cancer treatments, what they do is they cause a lot of damage. It
Yeah.
doesn't have an inherent intelligence that can give life and kill cancer cells at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's what we've shown in our science experiment, that in this mixed petri dish of cells with cancerous cells and non-cancerous cells, this energy has an intelligence where it was able to completely kill the cancer cells while at the same
Mm,
time give viability, give life, give health
mm,
to the non-cancerous cells,
wow. Yeah.
right? And we've even seen reverse mutation where cancer cells have turned into healthy
Yeah.
cells,
Wow. Yeah. Oh my.
right? So we've done especially a lot of agricultural studies in the United States as well. We've been all over the world. We've done even physiological studies because we've done studies on even my own unique physiology, but especially my husband's, to show what makes him capable of being able to harness and administer
Mm,
this incredible energy, this divine energy comes through. And we
mm,
show that he actually has a very distinctly unique physiology
uh,
that is incomparable with other people, that if any other person were to live under those physiological conditions, they would not be able to survive for even a short period of
oh
time,
wow. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
His physiology is uniquely different from any other normal human being. And so we've done these things with NASA technology, the most sophisticated
Mm,
technologies available that even NASA uses, right? It's very authenticated. It's very, we use basically all of the gold standard protocols that are required for these trials. We match all of them and we really, search for peer reviewed science publications. We have over 670 peer reviewed science publications. And these have all been recognized and indexed by, major universities globally, including like Harvard, MIT. We have them at like the National Institutes of Health have recognized them as well. So this is
right.
not just like a little tiny laboratory in India. This is global research with, huge recognition worldwide by major universities. In fact, over 3,000 universities worldwide.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for disclosing that. I didn't have
Yeah,
all the information. That
of
is
course.
incredibly, I mean, it's beautiful, wonderful news. That's what we need, isn't it?
Yes.
To bring spirituality to the forefront of science. Now they're merging. It's one and the same. We are not
Yeah.
separating spirituality from science, and that
Right.
it's time, isn't it, Dahryn? It's time.
It is
Yeah.
time.
Thank you.
I feel like humanity's really in a state where it needs us. It's kind of in like a dark era right now,
Yeah.
but darkness always preludes light, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like, in a great
Yeah.
absence of, consciousness, and that's why we see all of the problems we see today is because we've ignored the existence and nature of consciousness and
Right.
its effect on our lives. And the moment we start introducing us, we have, blessed food. We have incredible quality of food. We have
Mm,
answers to problems in our agriculture industry. We have innovative solutions to things that, science says is impossible. Like our science starts again. Like really, the horizons of science extends almost to impossible degrees the moment you introduce consciousness to it.
right.
And so that's what we want to do. That's why it's such a big mission. And we really, are seeking for, any
Yeah.
kind of people who want to collaborate, who want to, join the mission. All of the people who sign up for memberships and blessings, that's essentially what they're doing is they're adding to our mission,
Right.
right? They're helping support it because it's not just about, individual lives. It's
Yeah.
the mass collective of all of humanity that this will really influence, right? If we can get rid of, toxic food
Oh, yeah.
and a toxic environment and just replace that with divine blessings without using any
Yeah.
toxic chemicals,
Right.
if we
Right.
can, reintroduce nutrients that have been depleted in our soil and our food,
Yeah.
right? If we can do all of these things, we're improving life on a global scale, where even people that don't believe in blessings and God and consciousness,
Right.
they can still eat food, right? They
Mm,
still eat
they
food
have
and they'll
to.
appreciate good quality food that,
Yeah.
improves their digestion, that improves their quality of sleep. We're actually currently working with a multi-billion dollar, you know, um, corporation that's actually a major league in the food industry right now.
Mm,
We were actually
wow.
actively doing this, who's part of, our poultry and egg experiment, where we've
Wow.
seen huge, incredible results in terms of mortality as well as massive egg production. Almost,
Mm, mm,
we're talking like billion-dollar level increments in their ability to produce more eggs, healthier chickens without the use of, all these chemicals, with lower mortality rates, better quality, right? We used, many of these things that we're doing now are very significant and have huge implications for the future of mankind. So I'm a big supporter of what we're doing, obviously, but I feel like it's necessary and I feel like it's mandatory now. I don't feel like it's even an option anymore. I feel like we've reached a
mm,
point where it's a mandatory necessity for our future quality of life.
mm. And it is, though. Yeah, it is. We
Yeah.
need that shift. We need that change. Wow. I'm really. I mean, I love everything I hear from you. That sounds so.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like a different world. It's almost like we are living a different reality already. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Wow, I love it. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? To know that consciousness kind of speaking. It has a voice. Basically, you're giving a voice to something that never had a voice, in the sense that it's easy to be misunderstood, ignored, right? dismissed
I
as
love
something
that.
that's unreal. But it's the most, it's the only thing that's real anyway. Like you said before
Mhm.
beautifully, it's what gives it, where life comes from. That's what there will be no life without consciousness. It's so, that's so clear to me from my own experience.
Yeah.
So
I love the way you worded it, though. It's like we've given consciousness a voice.
yes,
I mean, that is beautiful. I really love that.
yeah.
I'm very happy you said that. That's great. So you could use that for marketing now.
Oh, please do it. Oh, please do it. Oh, yeah, right. Because it needs it. Yeah, it needs a voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well,
Thank
it
you.
has one now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Dahryn.
Thank you.
I know we didn't talk about your own journey meeting Guruji Trivedi. I know he has, and I read the whole story on the website. I mean, it's beautiful
Yeah.
the way you already had the vision before when you were very young.
Yeah.
So, and that's, I mean, would you like to share that for a moment? Your
Yeah, I'll
own
share it
story?
real briefly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the real founder and pioneer of this mission. He's the one that established Divine Connection International. He's the founder of all of this. He's the source, you could say. He's his consciousness is the consciousness that led to my
Mm,
own enlightenment and my own awakening.
yeah.
But I had these incredible experiences when I was a child, these direct experiences of God that I didn't have any context of within religion or even within my own spiritual background. I had a good blend of East and West Christianity with yoga, with
Yeah.
Yogananda
Yeah.
and everything. And so I had a well blended background. But even then, my experiences, right, of ecstasy and this union with divine, whatever, whether it was samadhi or like
Mm,
just an absolute stillness with such a beautiful
yeah.
quiet bliss that just enveloped my entire being.
Yeah.
And so these experiences kind of gave the impression, obviously I knew God it was real and I knew consciousness was real, just like
Mm,
you do,
yeah.
right? And I had a firm belief in that, but also I felt very ostracized by society
Yeah.
because I felt like society often laughs at us.
Right.
It laughs at this group of people. It feels like it's not real because its consciousness doesn't have that voice. It hasn't
Mhm.
had that voice for a
Mm,
long time.
yes.
Its voices have been mostly subjective experiences and personal anecdotes. That's has been the voice of consciousness for so long. And I'm happy to be changing that to not like, excluding those voices, but expanding upon them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that experience eventually led me to a premonition when I was 8 years of age, where I actually foresaw divine told me that I was going to meet an enlightened being in my life, this incredible, miraculous man who would be my husband as well.
Yeah.
And this man would lead me to my own enlightenment, my own awakening that I desperately longed for. These experiences told me divine was real, but I also longed to, maintain it, to not
Yeah.
have them, fade or leave me, but
Yeah.
to live in that space.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so that was my desire and my drive. So I knew that my purpose here was not an ordinary purpose because that was all I wanted in my life was that.
Right.
So I led my life waiting for him. And when I was around 20 years of age, I finally met him. And soon, meeting him, I realized that he was the very same person from that vision when I was 8 years of age.
Amazing.
And he recognized me too. He also had a premonition, a divine message that, he was going to marry, me.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and so
Yes.
I married him in 2011, and in 2012, right, through his own divine blessings and through his nurturing, right, I ended up attaining my own enlightenment in 2012, and I'm now a partner, with him on this mission together,
Yeah.
to authenticate the power of consciousness and these divine blessings
Mm,
for everyone.
mm,
So, but also my story, I feel is an incredible story for everybody else because our intention is also, like I said, it's multifaceted journey
mm.
or mission. That's not just about, one or two things, but
Right.
it's like it includes hundreds of different avenues and possibilities.
Right.
And one of those is we actually want to enlighten more individuals. We want
Mm,
to bring other individuals to the point of their own enlightenment so that we can have more of these people who can, perform these miracles, who can change, our industries, who can change our modern systems, who can, help
mm,
other people, right? We actually want to create more enlightened
mm.
spiritual leaders on this planet through
Yeah.
the mission of our organization. So my example is a story that if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Oh, wow.
And so that's our mission as well. So it's possible for everyone. I truly believe that. It's my own experience.
Yes, right. So this is something that's already available, Daring. The
Yeah. available
teachings,
now?
the teachings of the divine blessings to other people, to spiritual teachers and coaches? Is that something that you already have in place, or this
Yes.
is a
Yes,
project?
everything's already in place. We already are doing memberships. We've been doing them since 2011, or maybe even earlier than that.
Oh
I
wow!
met my husband in 2011. He came to the United States in 2009, and so he's been blessing people even before then, since 1995.
Yeah,
But yeah, this has been available for a while. We've just never done any marketing because we've
yeah,
spent so much. We truly wanted to. My husband always has said this throughout all of his life and all the time I've known him, that the worst thing you can do for someone is give them false hope.
right.
And he's seen so many of these, false teachers and false gurus and people
Yeah.
who exploit the fact that that consciousness doesn't have any scientific foundation,
Mm,
so anybody can exploit spirituality and utilize it for their own benefit and to manipulate and trick and harm other people.
mm,
There's a light side and a dark side to
right.
spirituality. It's
Right.
open to both because of that lack of credibility. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
what he really wanted to do is, when he experienced this, right, he had a foundation with all these politicians and people who would come to him, from actresses, actors from the Bollywood industry,
Yeah.
right, politicians, distributors, producers. He was well established in India. He had a great life, before he essentially gave all of that up to pursue science. I don't know many people who
Wow.
would be willing to give that up
Yeah.
for the pursuit of scientific truths.
That's
And so when I
yeah.
learned that when I first met him, I was so immediately drawn, because that is something uniquely different that I saw in him that I had not seen anywhere else.
Yes.
And so, right, that's why we established this scientific database, but we also, the why we haven't done any marketing before then,
Yeah.
right, since 2011 and 2012, is we wanted to create a scientific foundation and get these clinical trials out, right? It
Yeah.
takes decades. It takes a long
Oh
time
yeah.
to
Mhm.
establish 6,000 science studies. You
Sure.
can imagine how long that would take.
Yeah.
And then millions of dollars, right,
Yeah.
investment to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then on at the same time, we want to be able to say with authority what these divine blessings can do and what they can't do.
Yeah.
Right? We want to be realistic and practical in our message and be able to say truly, without giving anybody false hope, like, this is what this energy is capable of doing. And so we were waiting for a long time to get this
Mhm.
scientific foundation before we shared it with the world. And now that we've just recently wrapped up those 4 clinical trials, right? I feel like we're at a point where we're ready to share it. We're ready to give consciousness a voice.
I love that. Yes. And
Yeah.
you are doing it. Yeah, you're doing exactly that. It's beautiful though.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes, to this conversation today and being part
Thank
of
you.
this platform. So I want to
Thank
mention the
you
web.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you,
Sorry.
Dahryn. Yeah, it's beautiful though. I mean, I'm really excited. I want to try it though. So, divineconnection.org. Can you mention that other, the other
Yeah, so the
email?
landing
The
page for
website?
people to get, the discount and to
Yes.
experience it for the first time
Yeah.
is divineconnection.org. So divineconnection, divineconnection.org, exactly how it sounds, / to the freedom to feel. So divineconnection.org / the freedom to feel. And there they can sign up for blessings and, at a huge discount just for people who are not sure, but they just want to try it. We
Yes.
welcome anybody. So
Yes. Thank you.
yeah,
So I'll have the
thank
links on the
you.
podcast notes. It will be everywhere this episode, this interview is
Yeah,
published. And we'll go from there. Thank you so much again, Dahryn, for your beautiful presence.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you
Thank
again.
you. Your presence has been wonderful, and I'm so happy to have such a incredible host here.
Oh,
I love the work you're doing. I love that you're also giving consciousness a voice and doing what you can. And I think you're doing incredible, amazing work. And I'm grateful to be here sharing my own voice,
yeah.
collaborating together. So
Yes.
thank you for
Yeah.
having
No,
me.
thank you.
You're very generous with your time.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Thank you. I love doing this, I have to
Thank
say. A billion times fun to me. So I'll talk to
you.
you off record, but I'm still here. Thank you.
Of
Bye for
course.
now, Dahryn.